can you pre-finish before it's installed? Now when I make this bulkhead that's going to actually seal this area up, I can only go down, because of the push rod being here, maybe an inch and a tenth maybe, before I run into interference. And then I have a piece that's an exact copy of this, so what I need to do is take this piece and add an inch to it. So what I'm trying to do is just do a little interpolation here. These are the rough angles. Best to make the piece a little bit oversized. And I know I can come down roughly an inch. But again, there'll be no substitute for just making it oversized and going back and forth a few times. And probably making up about 20 pieces before I'm done. Doing a trial fit on any of these kind of parts, what I can do is I've made a little notation. I need to add a little bit of material here and lower that notch just a little bit. So I'll just make up another piece. It's not a big deal to make these up, but I want to get a really nice fit on these. Remember, everything inside the cockpit you're going to see one way or another. This is how you can replicate parts, making little adjustments. Now sometimes you get it in 2 or 3 shots. Sometimes you get it in 20, but either way, this actually acts as a bulkhead in the fuselage, so I don't want this to just be a part that goes along for the ride. I used a piece with nice straight grain. I want a nice tight fit around here, and I want to connect it with some rigidity to the carbon. This is stiffening up this whole part of the fuselage. Spitfire actually has a pretty large canopy area. Where it gets tricky is I want to make sure I still have the clearance around here, and that piece falls into the rib between the back window and the front part of the Malcolm hood. Okay, now the next thing is to make sure I have a completely symmetrical. I want to look at this from the front, make sure it's symmetrical. I don't have it tipped to one side or the other. And now I want to line this from this part up to the top with a piece of 64th plywood. Now of course I want to trace this out. What I want to do is I want to know exactly where that glue is going to go. Then I need to do this by eye. I need to just kind of sketch this in, because this will be one of the ribs. Now if I'm in doubt, one of the things I can do is, again, I've always just want to do this to show this is an alternative way of laying out a part like this. When you want to lay out a part, you might want to lay out one layer of tape. What this will do is give you the same rough thickness. Whoops. Again, just knowing how to make some of these parts. I mean, I could remember many times looking at the scale RC stuff at the Nats and going, how the heck does he do that? Look at Charlie Chambers' P61 and go try to figure out that glass nose section and all those pilots and navigators and bombardiers and everything that are in there. Try to figure out how he did it. But anyway, this is just one example of a way that I can do. Now I can probably do here in this case. Just put a third layer in here, and again, this doesn't have to be super accurate, but you can see it just gives you a little bit of an idea. And every time you can figure out a way of doing things, it's really the way of people approach doing things, like a tile job. When you see a tile, I guess a tile mason, a tile setter, do a job, how he lays out all the grout lines and everything, you say, oh, boy, that was easy. But you got to realize he probably was doing it for 40 years. Anyway, these are just some of the tricks that I've seen, I've picked up from other people. Few I've invented along the way. Anyway, this is going to be one way. Now I'll cut that out, of course. Gives me a pretty close, you can see how off I was when I was sketching it. If you're dealing with 64th plywood and you want to get nice edges, it's a good idea to cut this just a little bit away from the pencil line, pen line, either with a scissor or a new XL blade, and do the last little bit with a little grinder, a little Dremel tool of sorts. No matter how careful you are, you just never seem to get that edge perfect. Now it won't really matter because I'll grind that last little bit away. Again, that last little bit, always easier to get. And anytime you cut a part like this, leave the piece in place until you glue it. It's just an easier way, it's easier to handle. Well, this little tool, little whatever it is, VersaPack Wizard, Black & Decker Wizard. We use this every day in the shop now. Great little tool. Take this and you want to drill these holes, the odds are good you'll just destroy the piece. But a good way to do it is with a grindstone tip, and I use the cable Dremel for this, and just burn your way through. By burning your way through, go slow, you get a reasonably nice edge. See how it's actually burning its way through. A drill will not do that. A drill will just shatter the piece at the end of it. Now, of course, I want a test fit that I have that rib right in the center of that rib that's molded into the canopy. I get a little bit of an idea. I got to move that back just a little bit. Otherwise, see, this is why you need this little groove cut. You need to be able to drop this canopy in at any given time and just get a perfect fit. This little thing is I put a little, just a drop of CA on a Q-tip and try to harden up the edges of this so I can get a real nice edge. Once the CA kicks, I'll run that grindstone in there again, and that'll really give me a finished edge and a finished look. And of course I'll run it from the back so it has a countersunk look. And I can also seal this area, which you'll see, so I don't have to do a double or triple finish and see the wood grain 100 times either. And all this does is it keeps you from having to put on 100 coats of finish to get rid of that wood grain. A lot of these parts are really hard to get at once you install them. And of course it makes it a little more rigid so you can get nice edges on it. The part we're not going to see, I won't worry about. If you keep doing this, you'll find out you get a really nice edge. And when you just touch that with that grindstone, once it's painted, it'll really look, it'll have that look of, how did he do that? Boy, if you ever want to really see some quality scale work, Charlie Chambers P61 just had me breathless looking at it at the gnats. Once that has a couple of coats of thin CA, just a little hit with 600 sandpaper, and you've got almost a part that's, well, you do have a part that's ready to paint. And after one or two of these coats, you get almost a little shine on the parts.